Hello everyone, and welcome to the next edition of the Holland Land Office Museum's Artifact video series. My name is Ryan Duffy, and this week we're going to talk about two other brewers and refreshment manufacturers that were here in Batavia and Genesee County. We had an earlier video where he talked about Eli Fish and his father Libbeus, who were the first brewers in Genesee County. Now we're going to talk about their successors, so the second generation. The ones specifically we're going to talk about are William Gamble and John Egan, who sort of took over the mantle from the Fishes and others and grew in the latter part of the 19th century and through into the 20th century. And they even diversified their beverages that they made, not just doing beer, but also sodas and other bottled waters and refreshments that were non-alcoholic. So we're going to go through some of the history of these two gentlemen and the businesses that they grew, as well as show you some of the artifacts and bottles that we've collected here at the museum to give you an idea of some of the history of these businesses.
In 1881, William Gamble bought the vault in which Libbeus Fish and then his son Eli built their first brewery, located at the address of 508 East Main Street, though is probably more likely on Elm Street by today's address standards. This Gamble brewery burned down in 1889, but he then formed a partnership with William Hook called the Batavia Brewing Company. In the fall of 1898, they built a new brewing building, which was 2 stories high, with an elevator on a location that is now known as 18 Elm Street. William Gamble, and after him his son Edmund H. Gamble, brewed beer at 18 Elm Street until about 1918, and this is when Edmund retired. Now, William Gamble died in 1902, and from 1902 to 1918, Edmund ran the company by himself. When he retired, he left the business to his son William, the younger. This William continued to brew beer and ale under the name William Gamble and Son. About 1930, he emptied his vats, put out his fires, and confined himself to bottling and distributing products produced by other firms. About 1954, the company began to bottle and distribute spring water, taking over the franchise for Seven Springs Water Company, which began all the way back in 1902 and had been under different owners up until that point. They owned it until about 1960, when that franchise was sold to a John Iannello. At that time, Mr. Gamble moved his beverage distribution business to the Industrial Center on Harvester Avenue, and he operated there until 1966, when he finally retired, and this ended the active association of the Gamble family with beer and ale. Now, the other brewer we'll talk about in Batavia was John Egan. He came to Batavia from Ireland in 1850 and bought a small stone building that the Methodists had built for a church, and this stood on the north side of West Main Street at the corner of Lion Street. He brewed beer there and ale until that building burnt down in 1962. He then built a large brick building that stood on the south side of West Main Street to the east of South Lion Street. And that building actually stood until 1981, when it was raised to give Mancuso Motors more parking for their used cars. However, Egan was not there until 1981. He died in 1969, and his sons Wellington T. Egan and Herbert H. Egan and his daughter Mrs. E.W. Whitcomb inherited the brewing company. Wellington Egan died in July 1901, and Herbert died in 1909. And in April 1909, Mrs. Whitcomb sold the business and the building to William F. Crickler. And Crickler then moved his soft drink business and his beer distribution business from 18 Ellicott Street to the brewing building, and the Crickler Company succeeded from there on.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of our Artifact video series and learned more about the second generation of brewers in Genesee County, two specifically being William Gamble and John Egan, and sort of their rise of their companies and some of the things that they created. So if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, as you can go to Holland Land Office Museum on YouTube and look up all the videos we've done. We're just about at 100, so we've almost hit the century mark here. And be sure to look through everything we've got there, as we have other videos of some of our guest speakers and other things, not just the Artifact video series. But as always, the best way to come and learn more about the local history of Genesee County is to stop by the museum and see us in person, as we'll be happy to share all sorts of stories, even more than what's covered in these videos. So, as always, we hope to see you next week, and stop by and say hello.